Happy Saturday and welcome to the weekend. As yet another week has come to conclusion, our conversation about the season of being stretched enters into its last dot this morning, where this morning we're going to talk about how just as every season often elicits the desire to discern or something for us to discern, sometimes even in the season of being stretched, we can feel the tug to make big decisions, or sometimes in that season of being stretched, God can place those big decisions on our heart. And let's unpack both of those individually today. Sometimes when you're stretched, you can be tempted to make decisions that will tempt you. They'll allure you. They'll promise you that if you just did this, then you wouldn't be stretched anymore. And usually that temptation is in direct response to our feeling overwhelmed or our not wanting to be in the season that we're in. The allurement in that moment, the temptation is that if I just made a big decision, if I just did something drastic in my marriage or my family or my job or personally, then I wouldn't be in the season that I'm in and I can just get out of it. And notice how that temptation and that quote unquote discernment is actually not being offered to us or being made out of wisdom as much as it's being made out of a reaction of, I just want to get out of being where I am. There is discernment specifically for us when we are being stretched. There are decisions that we either have to make, or there is the voice of God that is going to speak to us. But it's not going to necessarily be with life-changing decisions. In fact, my advice to you is never make a life-changing decision when you're in a season of being stretched, unless you're making that decision with somebody that you really trust, who has wisdom and who is completely objective, who can show you where your emotions are. However, there are things that we can discern. We can discern the subtleties of how we are experiencing temptation when we are being stretched. We can discern the different, you might say, tugs at our heart throughout the day, and even ask ourselves, is that coming from God, or is that coming maybe from temptation? We are called to discern in the season of being stretched, but it's not about things that are going to get us out of the season. It's about the things that are vying for our attention inside the season. And let me give you a concrete example. I had shared with you earlier this week that there was a particular season in my life just not long ago where I felt really stretched. I felt overwhelmed. And of course, I was tempted to make big decisions of a change of assignment, or not doing this, or beginning to do that, like big things that would have like an alter in my life. Now, of course, I didn't do that. I brought that to spiritual direction and realized that was just a reaction to everything. And then what I began to do is to really look at my life and to discern concretely the way that I was being tempted inside that season. When I'm in a season of being stretched, when I'm in a season where I'm overwhelmed, I tend to try to like pull myself up by my bootstraps, you might say, and just plow through it. There were earlier mornings where I got up, and there were later evenings than I went to bed. And the temptation was to work my way through it, because if I just got the work done faster, I'd get out of the season. That actually was the voice of temptation. The season it had a natural beginning and an end in my life, and me working harder to try to get through it faster was not going to do anything other than tire me out. And when I'm tired, I'm more susceptible to other forms of temptation, discouragement, and resentment that I'm there. The discernment inside a season of being stretched is, how are you experiencing temptation? Getting in touch with what's really nipping at you. That is where the discernment is. And that's where you need somebody who can help you see the face of God and the voice of temptation. Hope this has been helpful. My encouragement to you today is to do two things for me. Number one, if you are in a season of being stretched, look back and ask yourself, what has the face of temptation looked like? What have you've been wanting to make big decisions on. And as you continue to do that, as you continue to look at your heart, talk to me. Let me know, what season would you like to talk about next week? I'd love to hear from each of you. Let me know what season you're in so that we can kind of tailor next week to where you are. Go to my blog, marktoops.com. Right there on the homepage, there's a form. You can just put one word in there. You can put a sentence in there. Hit the submit button. It's going to come to me. And I've got some time today to look at those and to pray about where we go next week. So let's interact together. Go to my blog, marktoops.com, and let me know what season you're in so that we can serve you well. It's been awesome being with you this week, and looking forward to being with you next week, wherever it is that you want to go. And until we kick off a new week together tomorrow, God bless you.